When selling janitorial or cleaning services, success is less about quick wins and more about enduring the long haul. Unlike industries where transactions happen quickly, selling in the cleaning industry can take time, involve extended sales cycles, requires persistence, patience, and strategic engagement. We might call this a marathon, and navigating a marathon requires understanding the buyer's journey, staying actively engaged, and building lasting relationships. This approach ensures that when the decision-making moment arrives, you're not just another vendor, just not another cleaning company, but a trusted partner ready to meet the customer's needs. And this topic we're going to dig into today with our regular guest, Jeff Carmon, Director of Business Development with France Building Services and a consultant with Elite Business Coaching. Jeff, always a pleasure.
Great to see you, Jeff. Hope all is well with you.
All is well on a hot summer day here in Ohio, but no matter where we're watching from, hopefully it's air conditioned.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Jeff, let's get right into it. As mentioned at the outset, selling cleaning service isn't a sprint, but a marathon. This is a topic I think close to your heart. How do you coach sales teams to maintain the momentum and motivation during the whole selling cycle?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's really appropriate because of that long sales cycle. You can lose momentum, and so I think staying with the running analogy, I think the primary way to keep sales teams engaged or salespeople engaged and motivated is to focus on the short-term gains. It's kind of like if you're going from mile to mile in a marathon, just understanding that this process is going to take a while and just focusing on how we did in that particular mile over mile. And that starts with having a well-defined sales process. And so we've got a 5-step process here or 6-step process here at France Building Service that starts with finding prospects, and it goes all the way down to the end where it says you're transitioning a prospect over to customer and handing that baton off. And so short-term gains, if you will, then is finding prospects and adding them into the funnel, or converting someone from a marketing qualified lead to a sales qualified lead. So it's just those little markers throughout that keep them kind of engaged and in the game.
So those little markers, those short gains or quick gains, besides those strategies, do you have anything else you recommend for staying engaged with clients during that whole journey? Talk about that.
Yeah. So, and we've already mentioned this, and as a kind of a side note, that buyer's journey or that sales cycle is long. So at France, I've got several stories of people that we have pursued 3 years and some even 5 years. And so first, I would say recommend is taking a serving versus selling approach. And what I mean by that is understanding throughout this buyer's journey that what we're going to focus on every step of the way providing value to these prospective customers. And so as a part of that is providing good content and providing things along the way at different phases of the buyer's journey. And so those are some ways that we can kind of keep the folks engaged in the process.
So as this is good information, as you work with a sales team and they're doing all this, of course, they balance their short-term goals and long-term goals. But what about the issues they face? What are some mistakes they might make or pitfalls that just create issues with this process?
Yeah, I think, and I'll talk about this from a company standpoint, from an individual standpoint. So the companies, I think, have pitfalls. One of the pitfalls is waiting too long to develop a sales process. Our business is such that there's a lot of things that can create, for lack of a better word, a whirlwind. It's employee turnover and complaints. And so what gets pushed to the back burner a lot of times is sales or business growth. And so what happens is a company steps back and says, my gosh, we haven't spent any time on this. Let's jump into it. And then they expect quick returns. And so I would say two things there is a company is not pressing the gas pedal, keeping the foot on the accelerator, and then expecting things too quickly. And then I would say from a individual salesperson standpoint is not identifying the ideal customer profile and chasing any kind of business that comes along, and then just getting discouraged. When I came here, our goal was get appointments. And so I would be discouraged that I wasn't getting appointments. But then I realized, gosh, we weren't taking, France Building Services wasn't taking any appointments from salespeople. And so I laid out this sales process, and then I wasn't discouraged because I was making progress.
That's a refreshing thought, Jeff, because I think as individuals, businesses, whatever, we avoid those appointments with other salespeople. So
We do.
yeah, you recognizing that helped you focus on what would work.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I guess using another sports analogy, for the folks who I've worked with here at France, is understanding that it's kind of like a football game. Sometimes we're going to throw a touchdown pass. We're going to talk to someone and they're going to say, gosh, you just called me on the right day, that we've just talked about this. We'd love to have you present a proposal. Most encounters are not like that. The stars kind of have to align to do that. But I talk about, hey, anytime that we can find a new prospect, or anytime that we can make a connection and find the decision maker and find where they are in their buyer's journey, that's kind of like gaining 5 yards. It's like taking a sweep and running it around the end, and then we make a first down when we get added to their bidders list. And so those are little wins along the way as well.
Let's talk about this. When you as a company look to bid on different accounts or go after clients, going after a real estate office might be different than a hospital.
That's right.
How do you tailor your approach to the different types of clients out there?
Yeah, I think the key is kind of from the outset is understand in each one of these verticals, understand what's important to the person who you're selling to. So in your example, there's the manager of maintenance or the maintenance director at a manufacturing facility has slightly different needs than the practice manager at an outpatient medical clinic. Overall, they still want peace of mind type service, all of those kinds of things, but the needs are a little different. I think the second thing is know the steps in order to get your foot in the door or have an opportunity to bid. And so again, something like a medical practice, it's just conversations and using a nurturing process to stay in there. But if you're pursuing government work, it's a real structured process. And so spending the time to understand how to get in that process. And then lastly, I think as you're writing content and using content in your nurturing process, is to write certain content that's aimed at specific segments or verticals.
Maybe way back, I remember some companies would just say, contact a potential client and say, hey, can we bid on the job?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work anymore, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I think most companies or organizations who are looking to hire janitorial companies want to develop or want to have some level of trust that they're dealing with a company who can handle their business. And I think the best way to do that is, again, going back to that, serving rather than selling. I'm going to give you, and that's what we do here is we have a nurture process that lays in a piece of content almost monthly that says, here's something that I think that you might find valuable. And I'm just out here and I'm ready to serve you when you're ready to start looking.
Fantastic. All right, let's wrap up our topic today. Any final words of advice you would share with those watching our program?
Yeah, let's go back to our marathon analogy. I would say the key is start jogging, get started. I think, again, a lot of times what gets in the way is those things we talked about earlier. I would say start sketching out a process, start thinking about the type of customer you want to serve, and then start putting a process in place and start doing some action. I think that's probably the key to getting started with this.